So being in, as they call it, the trenches of motherhood is no joke. Although it looks different for everyone, it comes down to often an overwhelmed and overworked mom struggling to meet her own basic needs, intermixed in the needs of her kids and families. Whether you're in the trenches yourself or you know someone who is, my next guest says there are ways to help lift the weight moms carry. Life coach Chelsi Rasmussen is joining me in studio. It's great to have you.
It's so fun to be
Great
here.
to meet you. Can you dive deeper maybe to start things off into how we recognize a mom in the trenches? We say that a lot, and I don't think it's defined necessarily by just number of kids and ages.
Yes, and I kind of dived into this because, yes, it's not defined, but consistently what I found over and over again, it's these moms who are struggling to meet their basic needs. So if we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, the basic physiological needs, these moms are struggling to fuel themselves adequately. They're struggling to get adequate sleep. They're struggling to hydrate themselves. And then if we even go above that to needing and feeling like security, okay? A mom who is home with kids often gets overstimulated by noise, by constantly being touched. Also, as a mom, we deal with hard emotions that come up that can feel unsafe. And then going above that of needing connection and friendship, oftentimes a mom in the trenches feels isolated. And so if we can identify that moms who have a hard time meeting their basic needs, we can step in and help. And, you know, oftentimes it's going to be moms who are also in the trenches themselves.
Right, it's the women helping women.
Yes, and so I've broke it down to simple things we can do.
Well, I love how you describe that. Some of that is I'm going to be candid, just motherhood, right? The lack of sleep probably isn't fixable. But the other needs you described, I think, so beautifully can be lifted by a girlfriend or a sister or another mom as we kind of tag team and bounce back and forth. Have you found yourself in this phase?
Oh, this morning.
She's like, yes, today.
This morning.
10 minutes ago.
Last week. It is ongoing. It is ongoing.
Yeah.
But what I'm finding is crucial is, and I know self-care is totally a buzzword.
Yeah.
But it's recognizing our own needs and asking for help, getting good at asking for help, which is so hard.
Look at these beautiful babies. And that kind of it complicates the scenario you described, I think, in its own right, because motherhood is the extremes. It's the best and the loveliest and the most beautiful, and then it's the most challenging and the most difficult. So we're constantly on this motherhood pendulum ride, you know?
And recognizing and knowing that is completely normal.
Sure.
Is also key, and giving yourself self-compassion and grace during those hard times. And
there's a lot we can unpack. Let's do it.
Let's unpack it.
You've got 5 ways we can help other moms. Let's start there. I mean, we know our own situation, and we could talk about boundaries perhaps another day. But as we look outward, and again speak to that female network that we hopefully can call upon, you say we should try to stay away from well-meaning statements.
Yes, and first and foremost, avoiding assumptions. We can't assume that everyone felt called to be a mother, okay? And what I mean by well-meaning statements is an example of this that we hear often is, oh, enjoy every minute because it goes by so fast. While that's well-meaning, a mom who is overwhelmed and in survival mode can take that to heart. And if she's not enjoying, which the majority of us aren't enjoying every single moment, that's normal, she can feel guilty and shame about it. And so it can do a lot of damage.
I totally recognize that. At the same time, I do see the well-intended positivity behind that.
Oh, absolutely.
What might we say instead that wouldn't evoke shame, but that would promote motherhood in a positive way? Does that make sense?
Yes. A good statement would, you know, if I had a fellow mom come up to me in the grocery store while my toddler is melting down and asking for this, and she says, just you wait. Your kids will not always need you the way that they do. Like that is like, I feel seen, and it's like another mom, like, I get you, I see where you're at, I've been there, and that it's almost validating.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like that a lot. You say when offering help or, you know, reaching outside of ourselves to try to sustain and support another woman, we should be specific in what we're offering.
Yes, because an overwhelmed mom, while the statement is, hey, what do you need? or
call me if you need me.
Yep, call me if you need me. That's great, but what is better is being specific. So, or giving choices of saying, hey, I'm running to the park. Can I grab your 2 older kids and bring them with? Or can I bring you dinner Tuesday at this time? Being specific will help lessen that overwhelmed mom and be able to help her recognize what her needs are.
In the right relationship, I've even found it both helpful and I hope helping to take away the ask. I'm gonna pick up your kids on the way to the park. You know, you have to have a certain level of closeness, I think, to pull that off. But I appreciate when people get a little bossy with me sometimes.
Absolutely, because
you know?
it is hard asking for help and accepting help. It takes a lot of practice.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned that kind of hypothetical in the grocery store, and the response that you offered up was so validating, and that's part of your advice, is to make sure you're focusing on the mom too, not just the kids or just the needs of the family.
Yes, absolutely. So when you're asking, instead of immediately asking, how are your kids doing? Ask the mom how she's doing first. And then that gives the message that she's important and she's an individual who has needs outside of being a mom.
You want us to steer clear of toxic positivity. Let's define that first.
And I am so guilty of this
I think
of
we all
myself.
are, to some level.
Right. So toxic positivity statements can be damaging because they can dismiss those hard emotions, right? So example of toxic positivity are good vibes only. Oh, just be positive. At least it's not this that's happening. Or it's those well-meaning statements, but it doesn't allow moms in the trenches to show up and be vulnerable during those hard moments.
With all their emotions. Therapist Reva Cook once defined it as coloring everything with your favorite crayon in the box, like the whole world isn't red.
Yeah.
You know, the world can be blue and green and yellow.
That.
It's kind of opening up the emotions.
Yes.
That stuck with me too. So we avoid that in our conversation, or try to.
Yes, and a part of that too is also showing up, like being vulnerable ourselves.
Right.
We'll give them permission to show up imperfectly.
There's 2 sides to that for sure. And that's your final tip, is to show up imperfectly, to lay it out there a little bit.
It is, because in order to truly connect with someone, you need to be vulnerable. And it's beautiful when someone opens up and is vulnerable. It gives this space, this safe space for others to do so as well. And so these moms who are struggling and feel isolated, if you show up imperfectly, that gives them permission to do so as well.
Great advice, great real life, practical advice. Chelssi, thank you so much. Where can we learn more from you?
I am on Instagram for now at Chat with Chelssi, and you can find me there.
We will. Thank you so much for this little pep talk, is what it felt like, a well-needed one.